Welcome back. The Human Sciences Research Council has put together an exhibition. It's entitled Orlando West Soweto Youth Reflections on 30 Years of Democracy and Beyond. Now, the work of art is based on research conducted by the HSRC, which explored the experiences and the views of 30 young people and 5 adult community members on democracy in Orlando West Soweto over the past 30 years. So to share more on the exhibition, we're joined here by Dr Tshepo Moloi from the University of Johannesburg. He was commissioned by the HSRC to lead the Orlando West Democracy 30 survey. Dr Tshepo, good morning, and thank you for making time to be here.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Let's get into the brief that you were given. Perhaps why Orlando West, the focus in particular, and if we're going to look at the changes over the years, 30 years into our democracy, what are some of the reflections you can unearth?
Okay. As we all know, that last year it was 30 years of democracy. So the HSRC, Human Sciences Research Council, commissioned quite a number of scholars to do research in different parts of the country. So I was asked to do something on Curating, and I decided on Orlando West. I could have gone to any other place, but basically because Orlando West, has a very rich history, which unfortunately has not received adequate scholarly attention. And in going into Orlando West, I focused on youth, just to get the youth reflections and experiences over the last 30 years. So I had to do interviews because nothing has been written about Orlando West in general, but youth in particular in the post-apartheid era. So we had to put together a team of assistant researchers, which I drew from local community, because mainly they know the area, they know the people, but also to impart some skills on how to do research, interviews, transcribing. And it was very helpful because they made inputs on who to interview, who to target, and so forth. And so we started doing interviews. We interviewed, the idea was to interview 30 youth because of 30 years of democracy, but also to interview adults in the community so that we can get a bit of historical background about Orlando West. So that's how we went into Orlando West and get some...
The 5 adults that managed to, reflect and perhaps help us understand South Africa, Orlando West, in fact, in hindsight. What were some of their unearthings? What were some of the reflections that they shared 30 years into our democracy?
Well, from the adults, we got information about the early years of Orlando West, mainly its establishment, drawing from what they were also told by their parents, great-grandparents. Yes. But also they spoke about the developments over a period of time, indicating that initially, because of the laws of the country then, there was no infrastructural development. Some indicated, for example, that they did not have electricity. They had to use a coal stove and use candles to light. But over the years, especially post-apartheid, then we can see that there are developments starting to take place. In the main, one of the interesting things about Orlando West is tourism. Yes. Tourism is very big in Orlando West, mainly because of Villiers Street, where you have the 2 houses of the Nobel Prize winners, former President Mandela and Archbishop Tutu. So it's huge, and you can see this development with restaurants, people, B&Bs, and it's while I was there doing research for the past 2 months, it was buzzing every day. You go there, you get people coming from different places and young people from the area dancing, selling, and so forth. So there is that shift over a period of time from the dark days of apartheid to democracy.
It's also having the international community come into Orlando West, and that co-experience that obviously comes as a result, exposing the youth or the residents of that area to other modalities as well. And I wonder what some of the commonalities between the old and the youth were then, apart from the differences given the 30-year difference.
Well, I mean, it's because of the history of the area, which, as I said initially, that there's very little. It's very rich, but very little that has been documented, which I think that's something that needs to be done. You get a sense of, say, take for example, one of the major events that took place in that area, it's the June 16 uprising. Yeah. And because of that, now, when I say now, is that post-apartheid, you have the Hector Peterson Museum, which is also an attraction site for visitors from overseas, but also local as well.
Yes.
From the young people that we interviewed, which struck me, is that they also visit the place to learn about the history of Orlando West and the student uprising in particular from within the area, around the area itself. So I found that very interesting, because normally people will take it for granted that we know this history. Therefore, we need not go to Hector Peterson to learn about this. And I think also the street, Vilakazi Street, but what I also observe is that now it has expanded to other areas. These sites, developing new sites now, which is very good for tourism and the economy in the area.
No, absolutely. And I wonder if you're looking at your thoughts, your research, how is it then translated into the exhibition as well? Or what were some of those artifacts or materials that would have encompassed or represented the area?
Yeah. So from the interviews, we could get a sense of different themes that were coming out from the interviews. For example, people spoke about the early years, people coming into the rent then and moving to different townships as they were being removed from what's now Joburg, Johannesburg, into Soweto, Orlando East first, and then Orlando West. So they talk about the early arrival, but they also spoke about religion, different types of religion that people adhere to. They spoke about school, not necessarily about the 76, but school in general. They spoke about employment, unemployment, small business enterprises. So we pull all those themes together in order to mount an exhibition. So we went around. The other thing which was interesting is fashion. So as you can see, there's some of the fashion that people use. So we went around, asked people to lend us some of the material because we did not have. So it was interesting. People were very accommodating, and then they gave us some of the material. So the way that the exhibition was structured was to look at the early arrivals, because we've got a nice photo which we found from historical papers at Wits showing people coming into Joburg, but also religion. Had a uniform of one of the churches, and then Sishweshwe, and drums as well, because it represents the culture in the area. But we also also decided to use technology. We had old cameras, cell phones, because that's something that also came out from the interviews, which also speaks to how young people today use technology. There are mixed views that young people, because they've got technology which is advantageous, but some do not use it in an advantageous way, looking for employment opportunities and so on. But they use it, just as a social media, looking at TikTok and other stuff. But we also wanted to show that technology has also progressed, over a very period of time. We brought old vinyls, you know.
Which is making a resurgence.
It does, it
Yes.
does, exactly. Old CDs are no longer there, but I mean, some of young people did not even know what a CD is because now it's no longer there. In relation to school, I mean, we're fortunate to uncover some of the old notes, written notes from students in '76. So we also displayed those just to show the thinking that young people, I mean, at the time, would some of the literature that, I mean, Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom, Eleanor Sisulu's book on Walter Sisulu and Mama Albertina, because these were people who lived in the area.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying initially is that it's unfortunate that we don't have an adequate history written about this area, because it accommodated some of the leading icons.
Dr. Moloi, this is going to serve as the basis perhaps to take it further and to explore deeper. But thank you for the work that you've done, and thank you for sharing the story as well. The Human Sciences Research Council, we know, hosts the Democracy 30 exhibition reflecting on Orlando West. And so this morning here in studio, we just spoke to Dr. Tshepo Moloi from the University of Johannesburg, some of the unearthing, some of the reflections and hindsight as we navigate 30 years of democracy and perhaps what the future also looks like. So we'll leave it there for now, take a quick ad break and be right back after this.